Hello and welcome to the trade setup. In this video, we are looking at Mara Holdings. It is time for another update. And there is a lot of volatility in the markets during these days. There is a lot of uncertainty and many people are looking for opportunities. Well, we have to keep in mind that during such uncertain times, we need to be extremely aware of anything we are buying, of all of our positions. Even if you are just long-term investing, you might want to keep some capital aside as many of these stocks and the market in general isn't looking that hot right now. We could be looking still for continuation to lower prices actually within many stocks, and we do need to be aware of the risk, and it is always nice to be able to buy even the future and larger dips. So I believe it is a good time to look for opportunities that provide clear risk and great potential, and Mara is one of these opportunities. I also plan to do a broader market analysis today, so if you want to be on top of that, I would recommend to subscribe. But right now, let's get into this chart. We will of course provide the opportunity, and we will of course explain why this is an interesting setup. So on this chart, we have a couple of options. We could be looking at this to have been a wave 1, a wave A, doesn't really matter to me. I am looking at this to be a potential bottom within one of these scenarios, and I'm looking for either a direct extension to higher prices or a reset of the current correction, possibly within a wave 2, possibly within a wave B. It's not really important how we label these larger structures, but rather how the smaller time frame develops. Now, since in this movement to the upside, we only have a 3-wave pattern, we have no clear or strong indication that we would be extending to even higher prices. Of course, there is a possibility that we extend directly, but there is no edge for us here. That's the main aspect. And we have an interesting development, especially in this area, because if it really is a wave 2 in white, it is able to have a bottom in place. It is able to extend directly to significantly higher prices, very easily even exceeding the wave 1 top that we have here, which is right around $83, right? So there is a lot of upside, and currently we have a pretty clearly defined area of support. Now, can I guarantee this will work out? Of course not. There is still substantial risk, but that is why we are tracking these patterns. We are looking for which outcome is more probable, and in both of these scenarios, I am looking for this smaller time frame structure to actually extend to higher prices. I'm looking at this as an opportunity, and in this structure, we have either the yellow pattern that would expect the reset. We could track something like a 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 in an ending diagonal in this wave C, meaning that within this wave 3, we could very easily have a bottom in an A, B, C pattern. We will go into the smaller time frame as well. Then again, it is possible that this is just a wave 2 in white, in which case we have a couple of ways we could be counting a full pattern. Yeah, an A, B, C pattern could be full, a W, X, Y pattern could be full. In either case, we could be looking at a complete correction. It doesn't need any further extensions, and we had even a dip below the 61.8% retracement. Well, we recovered back above it, and now we tested it from above, and we are so far finding support. Let's see if this actually holds. We will of course have even internal support. And in this development, in either interpretation, I'm tracking the same structure, right? In yellow and in white, basically, we have the same wave C in an impulse in this area. We provided this in the previous video, and I could theoretically be tracking it even as something other than an impulse. I don't really care too much. It is a possibly complete pattern. It doesn't need even further extensions. We even provided areas of resistance for extensions to lower prices here in green, up to $10.3 for a wave 5 extension in an A, B, C pattern, potentially something even more bearish, and then within this yellow resistance zone as a larger wave 4 correction, which has also been achieved. We really do not even need this green area of resistance particularly any longer. And we can even see we have reacted quite nicely to this first level of resistance. We got rejected a couple of times, but not before we actually managed to create here a potential 5-wave move to the upside. So normally, You would be thinking, okay, we pushed into the wave 4 resistance area. We could theoretically have a wave 4 top in place. We could be extending even within this yellow interpretation directly to lower prices. Well, for a couple of reasons, I wouldn't consider that too likely. So firstly, the proportions aren't necessarily satisfying me. I would like a larger wave 4 to happen in this area if it really is to form this extension. Secondly, we have a 5-wave move we can track in this area. Could we track it as something else? Well, of course, the market can always do what it wants in the end, but we have an indication that this would actually extend to higher prices as a correction in this wave 4 or in an internal wave B would be expected to have 3 waves. As we have a 5-wave structure in this area, it is being suggested, indicated to us, that after a 3-wave correction, we would be looking for at least another 5-wave move to the upside. Well, this enables us to look for an internal area of support that would allow us to look for the reversal for continuation to higher prices directly, and we have clearly defined risk. It is for the most part managed for us. We know that below the 78.6% retracement at $7.3, we would have a stronger indication that this structure would ultimately fail. Even if we get a recovery, we should still be prepared for a wider failure. But again, we would be looking for the sustained break. And not only this, but we also have some other indications that this would be a 5-wave structure we could be counting on. We have divergence here on the 4-hour time frame. On the price chart, we have higher highs. On the RSI, we have a lower high. On the daily, we have a higher high. On the RSI, on the daily as well, we have a lower high. So it's definitely not the most clear one. It's definitely not the ideal pattern, but this is an opportunity and we can clearly define where we should be looking for a failure of this structure because we have the area of support and we know that from these levels we can look for great risk-reward ratios. So in this pattern, we could be tracking either a 5-wave move to the upside, we could be looking for a 3-wave move to the upside. This could actually work out within the yellow interpretation, and in either case, I am looking for the signal that one scenario or the other would be occurring. Actually, we have 3 scenarios basically. 2 interpretations to the upside, and actually we have 4, even 2 interpretations to lower prices technically. But the number of scenarios is irrelevant here. We are looking for continuation to higher prices against $7.3. We are looking for a failure of this continuation if we get a sustained break below the last level of support. It's that simple. Now, the beautiful part of this overall opportunity is that within both white and yellow structures, we would typically expect to form at least one more high in this area, right? If it is a wave C or a wave 3, I cannot tell you. The market even hasn't decided yet. It could turn out to be any of these structures, and we can even look for the ideal extensions for both of these scenarios. So, if this is to build a wave 3 in white, we would be looking for the ideal target at the 138.2% extension of the wave 1. Now, this is given that we have a bottom in place. If we extend lower, I would have to reset this idea of an ideal target, but currently this sits at $13.4. Well, let's say we are buying right now at $8.03. We could be looking at a risk depending on how low below the area of support you want to go at, let's say, something over 11%, right? Maybe we want it to be below this swing low even, yeah? Even if it is below the area of support, sometimes we do get a wick below it, even in a successful structure. And then we would be looking at the potential profit in such a development. We could be looking at the 138.2% extension, 66%. Well, that is about a 1 to 6 risk-reward ratio. And with such a trading strategy, you really do not need to win over 50% of your trades to be profitable. You actually don't even need to be close to a 50% win rate. Now, of course, this is within one of the better outcomes, right? This is where we would be building actually a wave 3. Now, of course, this could extend even higher. Let's say we are building a wave C, in which case we have the ideal target at the 100% extension of the wave A. We would be looking instead, let's take again $8.03, and this would imply something over 40%. Well, this would be just under a multiplier of 4, yeah? Nearly a 1 to 4 risk-reward ratio. In my opinion, anything above 1 to 3 is actually quite great. And sometimes even trades where you have a 1 to 2 risk-reward ratio can make sense. If it is above, even more so. Now, this also depends on your risk taste, on your sizing, and on how reliable you consider the asset to actually be. Now, one thing I am always doing when looking for such trade setups, for such structures, before I'm looking for any potential profit, I am looking for how much I can lose. Yeah? If I am buying at $8.03, once again, I could be looking at, let's say, a 12% loss. I would make that 12% be, let's say, 1% of my portfolio. That exact number, that exact 1%, 2%, 3%, depends on how advanced you are, depends on your risk profile, on your risk management, and all that. And I know it doesn't feel so good when you look at your risk, you find the percentage you're okay with, and you consider, okay, this is reasonable. And then you go to look at how much profit you can make, and that's when you get disappointed because you realize it's not all that much and you're wondering if you should even take this trade because you just became aware of how much you're actually risking for how much money you can actually make, right? You're just asking yourself, is this trade worth it in the end? Now, this is for you to decide. This is not financial advice. You do what you want in the end. And in this structure, one more thing before we leave, I do consider a bottom to very possibly be in place. Yeah, we do not need any further extensions to lower prices in my opinion. I could be tracking something like a WXY correction. Don't really care the exact count. I am looking for the larger structure where I do not see a 5-wave pattern. I am looking for the reversal, and I even went a bit here on the 5-minute time frame. This is not going to be too reliable, of course, but I could maybe consider this to be an initial 5-wave move to the upside. Is it reliable? Definitely not. But I am trying to identify a more healthy structure, right? I do not want to see a straight line and buy into something like this, because oftentimes those get exhausted extremely fast, especially when there is no structure even in the beginning of a reversal. It's usually something not too favorable. But let's say we have here the levels between, once again, the 38.2% retracement down to the 78.6% retracement, and we know that with a break below this last level of support, we can expect to see a reset of this larger pattern. In the end, we do not know, and we do not attempt to predict whether this structure will work or not, or any other for that case. But we are looking for evidence. We are looking for structures that have better probabilities, right? We identified the initial 5-wave move to the upside. We identified the 3-wave correction deep into the area of support. We have favorable parameters, low risk, high potential reward, and we are looking for further evidence. And as we push higher and higher, we can adjust our stop loss from the currently low levels, where even if this doesn't work out into this larger structure, we might get an attempt of a movement to the upside. We can move up our stop loss safely into profit as we push higher and higher. And for now, these are the levels. This is the trade setup. I hope you enjoyed the video. And if you did, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and if you enjoy our content and want to support us directly, check out our channel membership. And as a thank you for any of these actions, I would like to invite you to sign up to our channel newsletter, where you get access to our monthly top picks, where we identify for you high quality structures. And if you sign up by the end of this week, you will still get April's watch list, which, by the way, it is completely free anyway. Other than that, let me know what else you would like me to cover, and I'll do my best to do that in the days and weeks ahead. And until then, I hope you have a nice day, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye bye.